Do you hear me?
I do, but I just realised, Tom, I've called you on the phone, not the video phone. All right, hang on.
Okay, I think we can just press a button and
Oh,
it
oh, can we?
yeah,
Like to
requesting
Tom
video.
Street would like to video chat. This will turn your video on. Yeah, I'll accept. Oh,
You got video there. We're gonna drop the video today.
at the moment. Oh, hang on. Yeah. Oh, there's Tom with the microphone. How am I looking?
You're looking like a black screen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Fantastic. Well, Tom, you're sounding great. You sound and for the viewers who have access to the video, Tom is holding the microphone like a member of Run DMC, which I have to say just elevates the whole game.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's all about channeling that energy.
How
Channeling that energy.
have you been, Tom?
I've been pretty well. I think I've been pretty well. Yeah, enjoying life. Um, yeah, it's autumn time in the city where I'm living, and it's one of my first experiences of a um, of what many people around the world would be familiar with as far as autumn goes. So because I grew up in Australia, it's a very arid. It's the most arid continent in the world, as far as I'm aware. Uh, the autumns there were extremely different to the autumns in the city where I'm living now.
So, Tom, obviously you're talking about a town in Germany. Can you explain the difference between a German autumn and an Australian, like a West Australian autumn?
Yeah, so where Adam's living and where I was living too about 8 months ago, um, it's we this so Adam's living in the town called Albany in the very southwest corner of Australia, and it's actually one of the wettest parts of the country, but that's still not probably very wet compared to um, a lot of other parts of the world. So autumn in Albany, well, I guess you'd be better off describing autumn in Albany, but that's really all I've got to compare it to. I've lived in Albany and in Perth and in 2J. They're all towns in Western Australia, so there's a huge contrast. A huge. My word of the week this week is juxtaposition for myself.
Juxtaposition. Nice.
Yeah, and there's a huge juxtaposition in in the autumn. So here in autumn time, the leaves turn yellow and brown, and they start falling from the trees, and the clouds come overhead. They're usually grey. There's not a lot of sun, but there is sun at times. It's much colder than um, it is in where I grew up. So it's maybe around 10 degrees during the day or less here at the moment.
That's cold, Tom.
What's
That is cold.
how would it is? Yeah, how would you describe autumn in Albany? Or in,
How would I describe autumn in Albany? I think uh, as the seasons as we've put them out, as in a row, um, they're very cyclical. So it would be hard to say which season is the birth season and which season is the death season, because some people will say that winter is the death season. Uh, yeah, just for our northern Asian audience, Tom. Can you say the order of the seasons in Australia?
The order of seasons. Ah, yes. Okay. So we have 4 seasons.
And what are they in their order?
Well, we'll start with summer,
Yes,
and then we move into autumn.
straight after.
Um, so summer is I think it's October, no, November, no, December through to February, and then autumn uh, is the next 3 months, and winter the next 3 months after that, and then spring. But they're very mild, the changes, well, at least compared to where I'm living now. The changes in Australia are much. It's kind of it's a smooth kind of
There's not as
flow.
there's not as much juxtaposition between the seasons here in Western
Not
Australia.
nearly as much.
There's barely enough even to call it a juxtaposition.
Yeah, it's a very slow transition, and then it's kind of like, well, yeah, this is. I mean, it's in the center of each season. It's clear to see that you're in each of the seasons.
Well,
Like summer is
now I don't know, Tom.
summer is much hotter than winter. In,
I think it's more of I think naming the seasons here in Western Australia is more of an imposition than a juxtaposition.
that's interesting. Yes, because I think that the original culture that was living on the land for a lot longer than European people have been living there had several. Do you know anything about that? How many seasons
Yeah,
they had?
they had 6 seasons, and I think that was like a response to say, look, we really can't tell the difference between any of these seasons. So we're if you're going to make it this ambiguous, Mother Nature, Mother Earth, if you're going to make it this crazy, well, we'll make it even more crazy. We'll have 6 seasons, and and then try and deal with that.
It's almost like days of the week, isn't it? We've got 7 days of the week.
Yeah, exactly. Why not 10 days of the week? Why not?
Well,
Huh?
I've done absolutely no research into this, but apparently most, just about every culture in the world operates on a 7-day system. I'm not sure how true it is. It's something that I've just heard somewhere.
um, well, I think all great arguments start with I've done absolutely no research on this, but I think one of us should definitely, and then we can talk about it, I suppose.
Should we
Um,
consult the Google?
no, don't. Well, I was just about to say, don't consult the Google just yet because I've done. Also, I've done a very similar study, Tom, and I've also done actually zero research, but I have it on good authority that all the cultures in the world, bar early pre-Byzantine Kenya, said there was 9 days in the week.
Right.
So that's settled.
Right. Okay. Okay. Moving on then.
Yeah. Yes, Tom. Yes, Tom. Um, so I was told about the Christmas markets in Germany. Do you know anything about this?
Yeah. I've been to some.
Okay, I haven't been to any, but this year I'm going to be to one. I'm going to be to one. I'm going to be at one. I'm going to enjoy one, take in the sights of one.
Yeah.
Now, first we've talked about the juxtaposition between the Australian autumn and the German autumn. Uh,
Mm.
can you tell us the difference between, say, the 2J markets in your hometown in York to
Mhm.
the German Christmas markets that you're about to embark on, and that I'm hopefully going to embark on very soon too, if the plane lands from the connecting flight through Oman?
I think there's not a whole lot of difference between the markets where I grew up and the markets here. It's basically you go there. They're happening for the same reason. Basically, people want to get together and commune and maybe make a little bit of money and uh, sell their just sell their products. And people, so the people selling want to sell and have a good time, and the people buying want to buy and have a good time instead of I guess the main difference would be the climate. Um, just that during Christmas it's much colder, and it's not really that pleasant to be outside a lot of the time unless you've got some kind of um, reason to be outside, and maybe a fire and some stuff they call glühwein, which is means just warm wine, which is
Glühwein.
yeah, it's a pretty major attraction for the. So you go down to the Christmas markets, you buy some of this warm wine, you stand around maybe a fire with your friends, have a bit of a look around at some of the some gifts that you might take back to your family if they live in a different city. Usually, each city has some kind of specialty or something like that that they sort of prop up a bit. But most of them, the ones that I've been to a few, um, maybe three or four. I think I went to one in Dresden um, and Leipzig, um, and some down in the Black Forest. I went to too. Um, yeah, they're usually relatively similar to each other. Yeah, just little stalls, but they're really nice, homemade goods. I think I bought my parents a little nativity scene with a little windmill and the windmill spins when you light the candle on there. There's a little candle on there, light the
Oh,
candle on the windmill. Yeah, it's a nice little trinket. Those are the kinds of things you can get there. Um, yeah, and we'll probably Adam and I are planning a trip at the moment, and we'll probably um, go to a few. I'd imagine. I think each city's got one. So yeah,
so Tom, you sent me a picture today with there was a man and he had a hat on his head. He was wearing the hat. The hat was on his head, and
yeah.
in the back of the picture, and in the background of the picture, there was on the wall of where this photo was taken. There was a giant big picture of Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And you sent me this picture. You actually didn't send it to me today. I think you sent it to me 2 days ago.
Yes.
And it was about 54 hours later after you sent me that picture, and I saw that picture maybe an hour after you originally sent it. So I had seen that picture maybe an hour after you sent it 2 days ago,
Yeah.
and it was only literally a couple of hours ago that I understood the joke that there was a man with a hat on in front of Manhattan, and I had a lot of emotions, Tom. I had a lot of emotions, and because initially when you sent me that photo, I thought you were talking about hat work. You know the great
Yeah.
traditional theater tradition. Well, of the great traditional tradition of playing with a hat. So I thought you were talking about hat
What
work.
can you think of a good visual example for the listeners of some hat work?
Of some hat work. Yeah. So if you're sitting back on a chair, you might put your cane that you carry around when you walk, and as you sit on a chair with a bowler's hat on, you could push the cane up your back, insert it into the back section of the bowler's hat, and just raise it 2 inches off the person's head, which is yourself. And then you could like sink down 2 inches, which would make it look like the hat was floating off your head, and then raise up 2 inches and bring the hat back down 2 inches, and then pretend nothing ever happened. That's very high level. That's high level hat work.
That would be yeah.
That's
Yeah. That's magicianry, isn't it? All.
Well, it's not. It's just high level hat work. Now, if you're doing amateur hat work, now it depends on what kind of hat you're wearing. So if you're not, if you're if you're this is your like your first foray, so it depends. What are you doing the hat work for? What are you trying to gain with the hat work? And again, what hat are you wearing? So can we start with what hat might a person be wearing?
I think the image that pops into my mind is a really nice GIF on the internet, like on when you're using a chat, some kind of chat messenger, like Facebook or WhatsApp or Telegram, is um, of a small boy. I think he's at a baseball game and he's got a blue hat on and it says respect across the hat, and he looks over at somebody and just lifts this hat with the hat up. I think that's some of the best advertising I've
Oh,
seen.
yes, I've seen that. I think I've seen that. Is that kid a black kid, American
He
looking?
is, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the tip of the hat. Is that a tip of the hat?
I think he lifts the hat off his head. I think he says hats off to you. Kind
Oh, it's hats off too. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, my hat's off to you. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, right. Oh, that's good.
of.
What a great. Okay, that's interesting, Tom. What a great mark of respect to pay to someone. My hat's off to you. Because
Yeah,
I was watching that New York documentary, which
yeah, yeah,
where the
yeah.
man
So
had on, amazing joke came out of, and I still feel bad I didn't get it. It took me like 2 days and a half to get the joke. So,
yeah, I
oh
think it was a pretty. So because me and Adam have been watching a documentary about um, New York City, the like how the city came together or how it came to be as it's such a symbol of something. I don't know really. It's too they kind of say in the series it's too much really to understand, too much for one person to really get their head around what New York City is.
but that's what New Yorkers
And
would say.
that's what. Sorry,
That's what New Yorkers would
a New
say.
Yorker. I think, yeah, I guess that's true. It is a bit sort of Team America kind of.
We're
Uh,
too brilliant, complex, and nuanced for you to even comprehend. It's Emperor's New Clothes shit. It's Emperor's New Clothes shit. You're a city.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
a city.
I see what you're saying.
Oh no, but hang on. If I
Yeah,
can just touch briefly on the hat business, the reason I brought up the documentary before was because when they invented the flash to go with the camera, one of the things
yeah,
they did is they went into what was called the catacombs, which was like a slum for really poor New Yorkers, and they would just for some reason they came up with this idea of running through the tunnels of the catacombs and then taking this flash photography to people who've never seen photography or flash photography, and then they'd run
yeah,
away and they take another. So they were trying to capture everyone in their natural setting, but every
yes. I was blown
single
away. I was blown away learning that. Like as they talked about, yeah, they just went in there, took a flash, and then they ran. It
yeah.
was just really so.
So all the photos are like people turning around going, What are you doing? What's this?" But all the men in all the photos, Tom, all had hats.
Right, yeah,
They couldn't. Some of them were renting rooms to sleep sitting up. They couldn't afford beds. They couldn't. They couldn't. They had no place to go. They had to go to free food places. But for some reason, the culture of that day demanded, no matter what social status you were, you had to have a hat. You had to have a hat. So maybe that idea of hats off to you, maybe that was like connected to how instrumental having a hat was back in those days. Because when most people had nothing, maybe a hat meant the equivalent of your own home today,
yes, yeah,
or a great car, or a great degree, or a great achievement, or a great business, or whatever. Like your fucking hat
yeah. Some
was,
kind of a symbol of.
you were still human, you were still there, you were still alive, you still loved and wanted to be loved and cared and wanted to be cared for, and you had a hat. Damn it!
Yes, yes.
So maybe the equivalent. Oh man, I might actually be. I might. I just had a moment where I actually might be sounding like an absolute lunatic, but it might be the equivalent of saying back then, "My hat's off to you," which still carries over to today. That might be the equivalent of saying, I'd go homeless for you. Mate,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, Tom. I'm not sure. I'm comforted by the way you're talking into the microphone, but yes.
Well, that's good. I think generally the podcast itself is it's probably a comforting kind of it has a comforting tone to it. I imagine when I listen to it, at least I feel like that's the energy behind it. It's a sort of comforting. It's probably the opposite of not the opposite. Not that, I was going to say the opposite of New York. I'm looking at that image now, the one that I sent to you. I got it up on the screen with the.
Oh, that's the old. That was like 1920s Manhattan or something. It looks all brown and dusty and fluffy almost.
Yeah, yeah. It's very concrete jungle. Um, yeah, it's got and the picture. I'm wondering if it'd be hard. It'd probably be pretty hard for people to follow. Um, to follow what we're talking about, I imagine, because. Um, so I'm just talking about the image, basically. Or we're just talking about the image that I sent Adam.
Oh no, I think people can imagine Manhattan or Hong Kong. Geez, every line that they utter in this documentary about New York is like true times 10 for Hong Kong.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, true.
there's
It's a great
these,
city, isn't it?
yeah, there's these New York like right, and I love the documentary. I have it on in the background, so and watch it. Like I absolutely love the documentary. But you have these writers from like the 90s or the early 80s, and they've got these mad white suits with little black bow ties with strings hanging off them, and saying, "Oh, New York, New York, you never saw anything like it, and you nowhere in the world had this many people converged on it." And I just imagine, there's a guy in the middle of downtown Hong Kong with a noodle bar surrounded by a billion people. Obviously not a billion people, but they've been doing New York for centuries. For centuries.
Yeah, right.
Maybe with the
Yeah.
monoculture. They obviously had they didn't have much. Oh, it's getting political. It always gets Tom, neither of us are political,
Well,
but it always wades into these things.
well,
Sorry.
yeah. I don't think we shouldn't avoid talking about things just because.
This is how people end up getting killed, Tom.
uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
go
no,
on.
I've
I'm
got to try
sorry.
and look through it. I've tried to look through a lens of trust because I feel like the world you sort of often the world that you perceive is the world that you. I think you get what you look for often when you go out into the world. If you go looking for it, it's like when you buy. If you people often say if you buy a certain model of car, you suddenly see a lot of those cars because
Yes.
it comes to the forefront of your. And I think it's true with everything really. Like if you trust the world and you look for reasons to trust people, I think it sort of reciprocates itself. It's like a two-way mirror.
A two-way mirror or one-way mirror?
Well, like
I
a mirror either side.
two-way mirror
There's
is what they
actually
use to shoot pornography.
a two-way mirror.
Yeah.
Oh, like a one when there's one person on the.
Oh, I don't
Or
mean
they're
now.
also
Sorry.
in interrogation rooms.
Yeah, no, yeah. I don't mean nowadays. I mean back in the day, they used to, not that I'm a historian on pornographic filmography, but back in the day, they used to. That's how they used to film pornography. Now you do it with an iPhone and a few drinks, and everything's fine.
The image that I was conjuring was more of mirrors either side of each other, and when you look, you can sort of see yourself 1,000 times in either direction.
Oh yeah.
Um, there's actually a Vampire Weekend song. They're a popular band at the moment, and it's about Manhattan actually. That's it. So they're a New York-based band. Just trying to think of the lyric, but there's a woman that stands in the middle of Manhattan, in the house that modern art built, and just out in both directions, 1,000 little Julias. That's the line. So she's standing in between these two mirrors. I get that image in the middle of Manhattan. It's called White Sky, that song. That might be Tom's homework for this week.
Oh, I love Tom's homework.
Listen to Vampire Weekend, White Sky. That will give you a little bit of New York, like recent New York culture.
I thought Vampire Weekend were from Perth.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Tame Impala are from Perth.
Okay.
They're an internationally renowned band, like on a similar sort of world world impact or level of fame and notoriety, but probably not quite as much as Vampire Weekend. Yeah. No, Vampire Weekend are avid New Yorkers. I think one of the lead singer has a radio show there in New York.
So, Tom, what have you been thinking about today?
Today, I've been thinking about. I live with a theologian, and I walked past. He recently bought a new tablet, and I thought it's a bit like I imagine Moses, if that was the way that he was communicating with the Creator, you know, if the tablet wasn't a stone, but it was an electrical
right.
tablet, and he spoke to God that way, rather than going up on the mountain.
Maybe going up on the mountain was heading towards the cloud, and they didn't really understand that, so they just said they just explained his walkway up there.
Yes, that means we've got 40 days, 40 years in the desert.
Well,
to look forward to.
Yeah, I still live in Western Australia, so yeah, that won't be a problem.
True. Yeah, you live in West Australia and you can eat all the milk and honey that you desire.
I can eat all the milk and honey I desire. I don't like honey or drink milk.
Sorry?
I don't eat honey or drink milk, so you know.
Nor do I. No, I eat honey. I eat quite a lot of honey, but I don't drink milk.
You can't eat a lot of honey, Tom.
Yeah, I do. I just had some, and then I put a little bit of honey in my tea.
Did you really?
I did.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So today, Tom, I was imagining. I had a couple of different epiphanies throughout the day, and one of them was this idea of entering into a state where you were exercising minimal energy for maximum reward.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, that sounds great.
And then obviously the balance between, well, I could exercise more energy for more reward, but then obviously that point in the middle would change. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Something that springs to mind is something that I learned through an author named Tim Ferriss. He writes self-help books mainly, and he's a proponent of the principle of it. It's called the 80-20 principle. So a lot of the time, 20% of the output creates 80% of the input, and then so if we can cut away that sort of the excess 80% of a lot of the things that we do, just stick with the thing that gives us the most results.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. So that's what springs to mind as you talk about that. Like it's just a formula for being efficient, and I think it seems like it's about right. So I think we've talked a bit about before about like squeezing all the juice out of life, but I think the key might be just growing lots of oranges,
The key
and
might
then
be growing lots of oranges.
yeah, and then you just squeeze because if you're trying to get every last drop, you you you're sort of wasting that time on that very last little bit of juice. Whereas if you just have a lot of oranges, you can just churn them out, and some juice is left in the orange, but it doesn't really matter because you've got
You got more oranges to juice.
yeah,
Yeah, right. That's well, it's quite a successful and ruthless way, isn't it?
it's a bit of a shift in thinking because you could that there's that the most densely nutrient parts of the fruit are close to the skin or close to the yeah close to the edge. So it's a matter of opinion, I guess, or preferences, or what you just depends what you want to get out of life or what you want to put into life, I guess too.
All right, so this is an interesting one now, Tom, and this might be Adam's organic segment homework that he's not giving for homework. And this,
Adam's organic.
uh, oh, I appreciate you making the music. That's fantastic. I really appreciate that. That's lovely. Okay, so this segment's called Tom Responds to Billionaire Quotes. Do 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 do. Now, do you want the theme song with the actual title in the theme song?
I liked how it came out. I thought that was
Oh, you're happy
pretty
with that?
fresh, and I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Tom responds to billionaire quotes. Do 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 do. All right. Now, when I first came across this, and it was the same time. Now, it can you indulge me a little bit here, Tom?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
When I was first thinking about this, I was thinking, okay, what is with the billionaire quote shit? What's happening? What is it? What purpose does this serve? Johnny Law and Janie Peacekeep, the people on the ground on Earth living like the majority of people, not billionaires, not living in a Calcutta slum, also not living as billionaires. Why do we have this fascination with sound grabs from billionaires? It's little tiny sentences from billionaires. Because now, when I was thinking about this, I thought, oh, I know what it is. Because there's a fantasy that we want to think that these billionaires, who in the materialistic world are like gods. I want to hear Warren Buffett sum up his life in a sentence. I want to hear Richard Branson sum up his entire philosophy of existence in a meme. And if I hear that meme or if I hear that quote and think about it, I'll be a billionaire. I'll be the one taking selfies with Barack Obama. I'll be that guy. And all I need to know from these people's amazing, incredible, stratospheric, perverted success, I just need to hear them. I just need to hear two sentences and a selfie with Barack Obama. And then I will be on the same level. And I'll be inviting Warren Buffett to my party. Anyway, so there was all that cynicism, Tom, in my head, right? There was all that cynicism going around. But then I also thought, listen, Adam, don't be a monster. Actually, let's click on some of these quotes and see what comes up.
All right.
and I did, and I clicked on some of them, and I
Yeah.
read them, and I thought, oh my god, that sums up success in one sentence. That's unbelievable. So one of the first ones that I saw was a quote from Warren Buffett, and he said, and this is a little bit. Oh, I like the fact that you're putting your glasses on, Tom. Even though you've
They're a
got
bit
no
dirty. I
visual, even though you have no visual of what's happening on this end, I appreciate it. I appreciate the intellectual business of it all. Now,
It's glasses. Bit of glasses work.
bit of glass work. Bit of glasses work. The best glasswork man in the business was Christopher Reeves in Superman 1 and 2 and 3. No one did glasses work better than Christopher Reeve. Now, he could have done equestrian work a little better and maybe not as practiced so much on the glass. Okay, all right, let's move on. So, Warren Buffett said, no matter how great the talents or efforts, some things just take time. You can't produce a baby in 1 month by getting 9 women pregnant.
That's great.
It,
I like that.
yeah, I really liked it. I really appreciate it as well.
So, and my role now is to respond to that.
Oh, Tom,
Is that?
in the immortal words of Morty, you're your own person, Jenna. You can do whatever you want.
But I thought, well, this is like we're doing like a game show style segment. I thought that was it.
Oh yeah, but I don't think we're locked. I don't think we're locked into the
There's
techniques.
no paradigm can hold this conversation, or we're talking wild madness, people.
No paradigm can hold the truth. Oh my god.
Yeah, I guess. Well, if I were to respond, I think I already did. That's great. I think that's wisdom there. I think there's wisdom in that.
Yeah, as my very old friend would say, that's Taoism, baby.
Maybe. Yeah. 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 Well, I guess we should take stock. Um, is the
You
is
should
the
take
message?
stock.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to hear
Like
a
Warren Buffett.
huh?
Like Warren Buffett. He takes stock. He's a stockbroker.
Oh my god. Yes, Tom. Yes, he is. Yes, he did take stock, and he is a stockbroker. All right. Do you want to hear a quote from Jeff Bezos, the founder and chairman of Amazon?
Sure. Yeah.
Now, I haven't read this quote before, so this is a cold reading.
All right.
And I hope people who are in the show business know what that means. I don't know what that means, but I think it means if you haven't done it before. And this cold space, that's what this bit's called, is when yes, Tom. Oh, sorry, you back,
Yeah. I'm
Tom?
there. I'm with you. I'm ready for this cold reading.
All right. Sorry, Tom. Sorry. If you're not stubborn, if you're not stubborn, you will give up on experiments too soon. And if you're not flexible, you will pound your head against the wall and you won't see a different solution to a problem you're trying to solve. Jeff Bezos, founder and chairman of Amazon.com.
Hmm. I
Hey, I
think
tell you
it's.
what. Do you know
Yeah.
what's
Go.
even
Go.
more? You know what's even more incredible? That when you reach out and touch your monitor for the first time and scroll your finger up and it moves for the first time and you didn't know it could do that. Do you know what's more crazy than that?
No.
Is when you put your finger on the screen and you scroll it up and nothing happens and you realize that your machine doesn't do that for the first time.
just happened just now?
Right now.
Is that?
Right this second. And I was like, I thought it did that. It doesn't do that.
I actually had that very experience. I bought a new laptop about a year ago, or a bit less than a year ago, and I took it home. I touched the screen and it did like it responded to the. And I thought, what? I didn't know it did that. I didn't expect it to.
And did you get angry and say, "Come on, bitch! Don't I turn you on?"
No, I was like, I was really excited. Like, I was like, oh, that's good. I think it's a nice. That's a nice little gimmick, I guess. But it might be. I don't really use it very much, to be honest. But it's nice to. Although in saying that, I was just looking at. I've got some images here on my computer, and I thought I'd just sort of flick through them as we talk, and sort of use them as a bit of a stimulus. And there's a picture here that I drew on the laptop with using the touch screen. I'll send it to you. Unfortunately, the listeners. I'm thinking what would be a good thing to get going in the future would be to have some images going up on rather than just having my face, your face. Maybe have some images to go. So, like for example, when we were talking about that image that I sent you of the guy with the hat on in front of Manhattan.
Oh yeah, that was great.
It could be cool to just have that image on the screen as we talk about it. So and then have it. Obviously, there's a bit of technical sort of we need to do a bit of technical learning in order to make that happen. But I think it wouldn't be too difficult.
No, it wouldn't be too difficult at all, Tom. Would you be happy to upskill yourself over the next 36 months? Doing post production video on the podcast.
I think that's something I can do. Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, if I give maybe an hour or two to it each week for the next few months, we could probably get that up and going.
Man, let's absolutely see that. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, it'd be a nice bit of visual stimulus.
A bit of visual
The thing
stimulus.
with the Amazon guy, it sounds a little too stubborn to me, to be honest. I really like the puppet quote, but if you're not stubborn, you won't get anything done. I don't think stubbornness isn't the other side. Like flexibility and stubbornness uh, aren't each other's opposites. I wouldn't think. I think it's flexibility and maybe strength or firmness. Maybe firmness is a better one.
As the opposite to flexibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you think about a blade of grass, that's obviously very flexible. Sort of. But it's not necessarily.
I was thinking of it like a girl doing yoga.
Yeah. That's probably the best sort of.
Like a girl above 18, like doing yoga.
I don't think there's any need to clarify.
It felt like there was there was like a little silence. I was like, oh, I might need to clarify that.
Yeah. I guess if you said a woman, wouldn't it? I bet if you said a woman doing yoga.
Yeah, but I said girl, so I was just like, I felt like I needed to.
Yes. Yeah.
And particularly for our Iranian and Italian audiences, I think that needed to be clarified.
I think that is the goal. The goal of yoga is to get that balance between flexibility and strength, as I understand it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And age of consent as well, obviously.
I think. Well, you don't have to be of a consensual age to do yoga. Like.
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
Yoga is when it comes to yoga, it's probably better. Like the younger you start, probably the better.
Oh Jesus, Tom! Oh my God!
Honestly,
we just made all the clarifications and the things.
Walking a fine line, but it's yeah.
Some people can drown without water. That's what I've come to learn, I think.
I've actually been offsetting this, a real change in direction here. I guess I feel like we're at a place where it'd be nice to move in an interesting new direction. But I've been offsetting. So we've been watching this documentary about New York, this monolithic city, and I've been offsetting that with watching Bush Tucker Man. He's an Australian fellow that he goes right out into the wilderness of Australia, into the most arid and remote parts, and meets with local people, local tribes. Most of the tribesmen aren't living on the land anymore, but some parents did or grandparents did, and he goes around and learns how to find water holes in the desert and how to find different kinds of berries. And it's very different. It's very natural and organic, kind of organically oriented. I guess talking about opposites with the
We're back to the
films.
juxtaposition, Tom, the central point of the show. Actually, it was very well done. I like it.
Juxtaposition, yeah, that's something that comes up a lot in the New Yorkers because it's the meeting of the cultures. A lot of Irish influence there in New York.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. We were the huddled of the huddled masses.
You spent your first 6 years in Ireland, didn't you? Is that right?
8 years, please, brother. 8 years. 8 years. I did 8 years in the Celtic farm. All right.
In Dublin City.
I know it inside out. Well, the outer suburbs. The middle class suburbs. All right, let's be honest. The upper middle class suburbs.
So would it be the equivalent of something like Brooklyn in New York?
Oh, it'd be exactly the same. Yeah, it'd be exactly the same. Main streets. I mean, upper middle class Ireland is like upper middle class Middle Ages Poland. Do you know what I mean? It's you're yeah, you're not falling asleep. You're not falling asleep counting money, so to speak, ever.
There's a TV show in Australia, a relatively new TV show called Upper Middle Bogan.
Yeah, I haven't had the pleasure yet.
Me neither. I've never seen it, but I've fun. No, I have actually. I've seen an episode or two. But the name struck me. I guess. Bogan is an Australian colloquial term for somebody who is uncultured, I think you would say, or it's like maybe the Australian equivalent for a heathen. Something. Do you reckon, is that a fair assessment? A fair
the Australian equivalent to a heathen. That's a pretty damning heathen. That's the heathen's heathen.
The bogan is the heathen's heathen.
The bogan is the heathen's heathen. Yeah. Yeah. And no one wants to be the heathen's heathen, except for the heathen's heathen. They relish being the heathen's heathen.
Yeah. Some examples of what a bogan might do in Australia is that if they have a gender reveal party.
Yeah.
They take their ute. I think you talked about utes in one of the previous podcasts. It's like an Australian version of a truck, but they're usually two-wheel drive. They're close to the ground, and they're kind of like, they're more a sedan shape, but just with a tray on the a tray on the back where you can store things. But their bogans would something that they might do in it. Is if somebody was having a child, they might do a gender reveal party where they do some skids. They do some burnouts on with their ute or their car. It might generally be a ute, I think. And then if they put some kind of chemical, I'm not sure what it is, on the tire. So as they do the burnout, a blue smoke or a pink smoke, depending on whether it's a boy or a girl, fills the air.
Wow.
Yeah, there's some videos on YouTube. You can see that. Um, yeah.
What exactly is your feelings on gender reveal parties, Tom, by the way? Be they delivered through a released bucket of helium-filled balloons, or through chemically doused tires, smoke around the bottom oval of the town's nearest precinct.
I don't know. I guess I have never been to a gender reveal party, so I don't really. I don't really. I don't know. Like, I don't really have too many. I don't have too many thoughts about it.
Yeah, I think the whole gender reveal party might be a little bit disturbing, and it might also be a little bit. It might be a demonstration of entitlement a little bit, and it might be testing fate a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
To gather all your friends and family around, and then open up a box that was filled with helium balloons that were all blue, sky blue, or pastel pink. I think that is saying to everyone that is around that we are absolutely sure of what is happening in the future. And I think that is maybe the antithesis of being spiritually aware, or being aware. Let's even remove the spiritual side. I think that might be the antithesis of being aware. I think if you were aware and you were about to have a child, the last thing you would do is hold a party and release balloons or burn out a XR Commodore, and maybe the way to go is just to be extraordinarily humble and grateful, and not declare to the world the success that you're about to have with this organic being that you have absolutely no control over whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I don't have any kids, so that's an experience that you've got a couple of kids, um, so that's an experience. Yeah, I'll take your word for it on that front.
Did I say anything weird? Because I didn't think I said anything weird. Did I say anything weird?
uh, uh,
Like when you're in it, maybe it doesn't sound weird. But did it sound weird?
what you were just talking about now the no, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's good. It's probably good to plan for the future. Obviously, it's good to try to make things um, secure for the people that you love, and give them as much opportunity as is possible as is. And it's good to celebrate birth and life generally. Um, but yeah, I guess deciding a person's fate before they're born. I guess we all probably do it though in some kind of a way. Yeah, I guess it's just each
It's
to his
it's
own.
it's counting your chickens though. It's counting your chickens.
Yeah,
And that's one of the oldest fables That's like the Old Testament for secular people. Are those kind of stories, those kind of cliches?
Mhm.
You're counting your chickens before they're hatched. Never count your chickens before they're
I was
hatched.
I was thinking about that. I think in podcast 7 you were talking about um, how you like to receive income from different revenue streams,
Yeah,
and I thought, oh, that's the don't put all your eggs in one basket kind of.
yeah,
That's the fable behind that.
exactly. The literally old story sums up everything
Mm. Yeah, a lot of wisdom there.
in very very small sentences.
Yeah. Although thinking now that Buffett, he usually buys. I think generally, from my understanding, he usually buys pretty big. Like his philosophy is that he doesn't. He's got like a baseball metaphor where he says, like, I'm playing baseball, but I don't have to hit any of the balls. Like I can't get struck out. I just have to wait to the ball. I just wait for the ball that's right in my hitting zone, and then I just swing and I hit that one, and then
Yeah.
that's all I need to do. Like then I can wait again for another however long I need to. That's the metaphor that he uses, and I think he puts a lot of stock generally, like buys a lot of stock in. He goes that kind of puts his eggs in one basket often, but he makes sure that they're very secure. And I guess that's kind of the sentiment probably behind the gender reveal party. Like, because I guess there's going to be one child. Like the child's more than likely going to come one at a time, maybe two at a time. Very unlikely more than that. And they're putting a lot of stock in that. Obviously, in the next generation, but it could all go up in smoke, Adam.
No, it could, but the only thing I'd add to the Warren Buffett thing is he is going up to bat every time. So he
Going up
doesn't
to
he
bat, yeah.
doesn't
But
he's going up to bat. He doesn't necessarily have to swing at every pitch, but he turned up in his uniform and he's going up to the plate to swing if he wants to.
yeah,
And Warren Buffett plays for 15 different teams.
yes,
So he's not
yeah,
just on one team watching pitches go by and taking a swing when he wants to. He's on 24 different teams.
yeah. He's a busy man. I think he reads a lot of business report statements. That's his.
I don't know if he does. I don't know if he does. But
I think
he
it's
keeps getting dressed in that uniform and keeps going up. He keeps driving to the diamond. He keeps getting up at bat.
yes. I was thinking. I wonder though. I mean, I know that he bought a lot of stock in Coca Cola. He really loves his Coca Cola. Um, Sort of going off on a bit of a Warren Buffett tangent now, aren't we? Um, but I'm not sure how much longer Coca Cola is going to be able to do it for. I mean, that's a pretty big call. But it just seems to me like in the age that we're living in, I just don't think. I don't know. Maybe another 50 years or something. I guess this can be fine for his lifetime.
And what's going to happen in 50 years?
I think maybe uh, the way that we eat will evolve past the way that we do currently. Because basically the way it is now, like it's set up like sugar and good stuff, like stuff that we as human beings crave. Like, and if we have the opportunity to eat it, then we do pretty much. And then there's the stores are set up to they're right there, like KFC or McDonald's or Coca Cola in the fridges. They're right there, and their cravings. It's such an impulsive action that takes years to get on top of. I think that eventually there'll be some kind of uh, legislation because it creates so much illness in the society that we live in.